Denise, on the new developments here on the Trump shooting and the previous threat that we now know was in place that was supposed to have led to stepped up security because apparently there was a threat against the president from Iran. What do you make of what we're learning today?
I mean, it goes, at least with regards to the Iran issue, it goes to prove that our sworn enemies, Iran and the new axis of evil, are very concerned about the increasing likelihood of Trump and his colleagues coming back into the White House and becoming the leader of the free world again. And that becomes increasingly likely with, every day that passes in this campaign. So it isn't surprising at all that they would feel threatened enough to step up their attacks on the president or threat of attack, and that the Secret Service needs to be extra on its A game, given what happened on Saturday.
Practical impact of this, Kurt? We're looking at the convention hall in Milwaukee and the scene last night. Donald Trump walked out with a bandage on his ear and all the rest. But the practical impact of this on a campaign, are outdoor rallies, or should outdoor rallies be scrapped? I know Trump has one for Saturday that's supposedly going to be indoors.
Well, I think that what we know from particularly Donald Trump is he's not going to back down. He's not going to do anything that has the appearance of weakness or acting out of fear. And so it's going to be incumbent upon the Secret Service to do whatever is possible to make the most secure perimeter. I mean, what we saw the other night shows that the most stringent safeguards were not in place for a building to be that exposed and not have the due diligence done that should have been done. And that's what you're going to hear a lot next week in the congressional hearings starting on Monday at the Oversight Committee, is asking the Secret Service director, how could this have possibly have happened, regardless of political party, regardless of which candidate was on that stage? This should never have happened.
Right, and then her answers didn't answer all of that in the interview she did. We were talking earlier about that. There supposedly was 2 perimeters, and this was in the second one, but not the first one. The local police department, again, is telling us they were surprised. Only 12 officers in the entire department that had partial responsibility for that building. All right, let's talk about President Biden for a moment as well. And this time, Kurt, I'll start with you. We're awaiting his remarks today. So he goes back on the campaign trail, right? He's going to be out in Nevada, or is out in Nevada, and he'll speak to the NAACP. He's doing an interview today with BET as well. Now, what I want to bring up, and I'll put it up on the headline, is this report from Axios, which I think was interesting, and there's been more to it today. So what Axios reported was the DNC planning to run out the clock for Biden. And essentially the point was in their report is that they're going to nominate him early. They want to get him on the ballot and everything, right? And then apparently some, and maybe you could fill us in on this, some congressional Democrats today are not thrilled with this, and maybe the talk of getting Biden off the ticket is not over after all. What are you hearing?
Yeah, there's a letter circulating internally amongst Democrats in Congress calling on the DNC to put the brakes on this effort to expedite the nominating process. Now, some of that was already in place before this conversation even began because of situations going on with ballots in Ohio. And so some of that is perfectly legitimate. But I think ever since the debate, Democrats have real questions, and they've not seen enough yet to assuage those concerns. And frankly, I think that the idea that this image, this iconic image of Donald Trump with his fist in the air seconds after being shot at, just kind of highlights the divide that exists between the perception of a very strong Donald Trump and a very weak and frail Joe Biden.
So you think, and real quick, Kurt, and I'll go back, sorry, Denise, I'll go back to Denise, but you still think as a Democrat there's a chance that they're going to push hard to get him off the ticket, that talk's not over?
I think coming out of the convention, if polling shows a massive spike for Donald Trump, that conversation will restart real quick.
And that could, I don't know, we're getting into hypotheticals, which is all we were doing, Denise, for a few weeks before the tragic events of the assassination attempt on Saturday kind of reset our whole conversation. But what about from your perspective? The Republicans all week long kind of building up their candidate. So last night was a dramatic moment, of course. We have Wednesday and Thursday to come with the big speeches. Yeah. If Kurt's right, then you could have the race reset again. I don't know. What do you expect?
I think it's ironic that this party, the Democratic Party, that is focused so much on preserving democracy and the will of the people and ensuring that that's, fought for and defended, is fixing their own convention because they're concerned about the weakness of their own candidate. The irony is so obvious to anyone, including Democrats, that they're being gaslit and having a candidate forced upon them that they don't want. 70% of Americans have spoken. They have said that they don't want President Biden at the top of the ticket, and they don't want him leading the country. And so until Republicans,
but as a Republican, you probably would rather see him
Yeah.
strategically at the top of the ticket. That's the matchup, obviously.
I want to see. Here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a real contest of ideas. I want to see the best candidate for our country.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.